This is my DIY van conversion of a 2015 Ford Transit 350 HD dually. This is a 3.2 liter turbo diesel, and in this episode I will show you how we did our wiring and made an electrical system. So welcome to my channel, and I hope you enjoy this series. Okay, so I am trying to figure out my wiring. I think I had like an epiphany last night and figured out how to do my puck lights. So we are putting, this is the back passenger side, all of our electrical here. So when you run a DC system, you get a little fuse box for a 12 volt and you get red and black wire. 16 gauge is what I got, and then label one side. So you have to run, or you don't have to, but you should run your lights, your puck lights in parallel. And so basically all you do is run one wire. So I ran it here. These are not in place. I'm gonna have my father-in-law check my work before I really put him down. And I ran it this way over to the front and up, and then I coiled it. This is gonna be my light switch for all of my puck lights that are going down my ceiling. So then from this light switch, which is gonna be on a dimmer, I ran it up and to my first puck light, which is like, this is the cab. So it's right in the front. And then I just like looped it. And then I'm just running it past the max air fan to my second, looped it to my next one, looped it. Did the same thing for all four that are back here and the one up front. And then at the end, I just cut it and labeled it the same. What had me messed up was I didn't know how to run, like hook the lights up with one wire. And it's so simple. All you do is you just cut this loop, and then it gives you two black wires on one side, or a red and a black on this side, red and black on that side. And then you take your little 12 volt light. You take your little puck light, 12 volt, red and black wire. And all you do is you take like the one red from here, and the red from here, wire them all together. And then the same with all the negatives, the blacks, and that's it. And I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out. And so then they'll all be running on that one switch back to the fuse box. And then now I just need to run like a separate wire for my fan. They'll go down to the fuse box. I'm going to add a switch on there. And then I want a light in the shower on its own light switch. So then I run another wire for that. I don't know why nobody talks about like how to run the wires, like, and how many wires you need. I don't know why it was so confusing, but it's really simple once you like click. And if there's electricians that know that I'm doing something wrong, let me know. Okay, back in the van. So we pulled all of our electrical system in here so that we can kind of map it out and see where it's going to be. So real quick, we got 200 amp BattleBorn batteries. These are lithium batteries. And so we have two of those. We got a 2000 watt inverter. And this is what is needed to be able to allow you to run 120 volts, so like normal outlets that you'd see in a house. And then we got a charge controller because we are going to have three sources of energy, or of power, should I say. So we have our batteries, and so the first one that we have is a shore power. So I will be drilling another hole into the wall of our van, and this allows us, like if you're at a campground, you can plug in. So this is one way that we can charge our batteries. The shore power, we're also going to have two solar panels on the roof that are 200 watts each, and they go into this charge controller, and this is going to allow us to use the sun to charge our batteries through solar, and that's what this wire's for. And the last one is this one that will actually be hooked up to the van's alternator so that the van can actually help charge our batteries as well. So three powers: solar, our alternator, and then shore power if we're at a campground or something. I told you about that. And then these are just like our controllers for all the system, and then our fuse box. I think that covers it all. So now it's just a matter of, you know, hooking it all up and make it marry together. Okay, so we are about ready to mount our first solar panel. And so this is how it came. Yeah, be right there. And then it came, we bought these brackets. They're called Z brackets. So you attach them to the solar panel first and then put it up on the roof. We kind of just put a piece of tape on the solar panel up on the roof to see where we want it to hit. And then he brought it down here and screwed these in place. There's 4 of them and then 2 down below. So what we're gonna do is hoist it up there, take some butyl tape and just put it right here, drill the holes, and it's just like 2 screws on each bracket. So a total of 16. And that's it. And then we have 2 of them. So we're gonna mount them vertically on the roof, and then we will wire later. I don't know when. Okay, so I am silly, and you can see it in there. I bought the wrong nuts. So I gotta go back and get some, but it's all done. I just need to be able to tighten it from the inside with the appropriate nut. So while we're cutting holes, I am now going to put in the shore power. And this is like what you see on RVs, where you can like plug in at campgrounds and stuff. It's just another way that we're going to be able to have power and charge our batteries. So this is where our whole electrical system is. So I went on the outside, made sure it was flat. This is the spot. So now I'm just going to drill 4 outer holes and then go on the outside and cut with my jigsaw a little square for that to fit in. Oh my God, I'm so happy I caught this. I am not going to drill 4 holes and cut a square. I would have killed myself. All that needs to come through is this round part. The 4 holes is how I secure it. So if I would have done that, the hole would have been massive. Thank God I didn't. So I'm actually not going to be drilling 4 holes. I am going to use my hole saw again because I just need a circle. I don't need this big square opening. So hole saw it is. Okay, I think I finished the wiring on the inside of the van. So basically, all my wires are running down to this vicinity where they'll be hooked up to our electrical system. I'm going to flip you around. So we're going to have a light switch here, and those are going to connect 1 puck light, 2 puck light, and then I ran over to the 3rd and 4th. Those are all going to be in the window and on a dimmer switch next to the bed. The other one is I ran it from down there to a switch here that is going to control, I went up all my overhead puck lights. So that's 2 of them. And then fan switch, even though we have a remote that goes up to that fan. The last puck light is in there on its own switch right here, and then ran back over to our box. The only other 12 volt I had to do was we are going to get a fridge that's going to be able to run off a 12 volt and 120. So I ran a wire, I think it's right here, and it's ending at the water pump. They're going to be on the same. And so those went up and around and back over here on their own wire. That's all the 12 volt. And then our plugs, I have a plug right at the base of the bench so that we can utilize it outside. So that's this black wire. And then it came up and we're doing another plug there next to the bedroom. And then that led out to there. The other one that we have is right there, and I ran it up and over, and I did a single wire for my water pump because it draws a lot. And then the last wire that I ran for 120 volt is I did the fridge plug. So I highly doubt we're going to use it, but I want the opportunity in case we are plugged into shore power. We have a 12 volt fridge and it is able to be plugged into a 120. So we have this line and then we're putting an outlet in the kitchen. And then that one's going back and there'll be an outlet right there where that blue mark is, and it'll all lead back to our electrical system. I think that is it. And I'm sorry if that bored you, but I had a hell of a time finding somebody to tell me how many things go on one wire or whatever. So if this could help anybody, there you go. I will save it to my electrical highlight. And if you have questions, probably ask a professional, not me. Solar panel. The wires are fed in through that hole and will be covered by that little thing. And then they'll be attached in series.
We're doing a series.
And then you can see on the inside, they're coming through there. They'll go back and then down here and connect to our charge controller that will then attach to our battery. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we are trying to get the wiring for our third source of power, which that right there is the alternator. I have no idea how this is all hooking up. This is kind of Chad, but we ran the red and the black wire. Nothing's hooked up, but we just have it running, and it went down below the truck. Oh, he pulled it tight already, but down below, and then he fed it up through right there. And then he is going to drill a hole. Oh, he did. He drilled a hole right there, and he's going to feed it up.
No, I didn't.
And then over, and we'll go run it to the back to go up to our, inverter?
This is going to go to the DC to DC isolated charger.
Yeah, that. And this will be a bench, so it won't. So just feeding it up. And then we will put like a little rubber grommet around that.
Around what? This?
And then it's going to be ran back to this area. So this is 6 gauge wire. And yeah, I don't really know much about this stuff. I left it up to him. Okay, so now that I have my board up, I have all my wires that are like peeking through all the holes for my puck lights. This is the end of the last wire. And so once you like take this part off, this is 16 gauge. So you basically take your little wire cutter things, and there's little numbers. So since it's a 16 gauge, that's the one that I use. You just put it in that slot and cut it, and it exposes the wire. You do that for both. And then I'm gonna take my red and black from my puck light, my red and black from this, and I'm gonna wire them together, and then I'll be able to pop that in. When I get to over here, I'll show you what I do on those. Okay, so I wired the first light. You can see it's up right there. And before we continue, I wanna make sure that it works. So we got one of our batteries, and I don't like electricity. And so Chadwick is gonna hold it to the negative and positive. And I'm gonna visualize with you that the light turns on. Okay, ready? Mm-hmm. Set, go. Oh my gosh, it worked. That is so exciting. Okay, you can let go. Okay, I am so freaking excited that that worked. Now what I'm gonna do is go through. So when I was wiring, I was so confused on this part where basically you just create a loop so that you have the wire every time you want one of your lights. So now that I have my board up and I have where it's gonna come out, I'm gonna just take my wire cutters and I'm gonna literally cut it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. So now I'm gonna strip back wire from either one of these and connect my puck light to that. I'm gonna do that for all of these. And then, yeah, they should all work. Okay, I finally finished sanding all my cedar planks. There's more like all across the tops of our retaining wall. They're all sanded and whitewashed. So while those dry, we then took our, oops, I just stained that. It's pretty dry. We just shiplapped over, this is like leftover shiplap that we had from, I don't know, some project. But the board was really ugly and we made the wrong holes. So we re-shiplapped it, and it is where we're gonna mount all of our electrical stuff. We laid it out, put the holes where they needed to be to feed the wires through. So now we are gonna take this board and mount it here. And then all these wires will come through, and we are gonna be able to hook everything up. Okay, last thing we had to do is we have to drill directly into the van, which is basically, it's called grounding the chassis. So this is our main ground. So we have our 2-aught wire, and Chad put shrink wrap right there, and then he cut back right there so that he could crimp on a little thingy. A lug. And we're gonna just drill that onto the chassis of the van, and that's how it's ground. So he's gonna use that big bad boy to crimp it.
When you started the video, you said last thing, and I feel like there's 1 million more things after this.
Okay. Meanwhile, while he's doing that, I am taking all my 16 gauge DC wire and crimping on these little ring terminals. So they look like this. And you just use a little crimping thing, you put it in and squeeze it, and it basically just makes it secure to these so that we can easily put them on our fuse block for our DC system. Okay, so I am crimping these using a crimper. So you take your little terminal and you pop it in this thing and just close it enough to hold it like that. And then you take your little wire and you put it in, and then just squeeze down all the way until it opens back up. And basically it just squeezed it on, and then I have a little piece of shrink wrap that I put on first. And so I'm going to put this up here and then just use a heat gun so that it is all nice and pretty. And this will go directly on my DC terminal. We have been totally at a standstill on the van because of a few different reasons. One being we left this back AC in, and so there's like an AC for the front of like any vehicle, and then there's the rear AC. And for some reason we did something during demo that is causing this rear AC to continually be on. Like you can turn buttons on and off, it never changes, it's continually blowing. So we got to figure that out. So I'm probably gonna have to take this wall down that I put up And then the other thing is, I forgot to order the, remember the little, what are these? Airbag sensor things. So we're constantly going to have an airbag light on the engine if we don't plug these. So I ordered those. There's 2 on this side, and then of course 2 behind the wall that I put up. So I'm going to have to take that down to put those on. So it's just been like waiting for things to arrive. Really annoying. But we've been using it as an excuse of not hooking up all of our electrical, which we totally can still do. So we're going to do that today, hopefully. We got the batteries that we're going to wire in. Are we wiring them in parallel?
Huh?
The batteries parallel?
Yeah.
Wiring them in parallel. I'll show you what I mean. And then first we're going to hook up our solar. So everything's up. Wires are ran. They just need to all be hooked up. So hopefully we're going to get that all started today. And then fingers crossed everything comes within the next couple of weeks. And I can finish doing the walls. So Chad took 2-aught wire and is currently crimping on one of the, what are they called? Eyelets or?
Lugs.
Lugs.
Forgot the heat wrap.
And he forgot the heat wrap.
But
side. Basically that's what he's making. And to wire in parallel, we put the batteries like this. And you can see there's positive and positive. So we're going to wire those together there. And then this is negative and negative. And we're going to wire those together there. So the only thing is we only have black wire. But apparently it's the same. So we're just going to use red electrical tape around the black wire. Just so that our brain stays right and we know that that's the positive side. This is the negative side. Here these are. So they're not tightened yet, but we have the positive one. We're going to wrap this in red and the negative. And then we took the ground. You probably don't remember, but we just drilled the other end of this into the actual van. This is our grounding of the chassis. And that connect there. And that's our links distributor. So basically everything connects into this. It's like our big bus bar. And then from that, just one thing connects to our battery. So we don't have like a million things connected to the batteries. So this is where we're at. Okay, update. So we have the negative part of the battery hooked up to that thing. And that is the battery charger thing that connects to our Bluetooth app to let us know how much we got going on in our battery power. And then we have the positive line going over to that, which will be our A&L fuse. And Chad has our master shut off that he is attaching. This one will go to what?
That's the battery.
That goes to the battery, and then this one goes
The bus bar.
To the bus bar. Okay, I'm back home in the van, and what the problem was that big board up there. So one of the screws was next to a wire, causing it to short out. So now what happened is Chad hooked these 2 wires up to the isolated DC charger. So these 2 red and black wires right there go all the way back, and that is a, what is that? A fuse?
It's a fuse.
Basically a fuse. And then those are the wires that go to the front of the van for the alternator. So we have power there. And then Also, he hooked up the solar to the MPPT, and you can see it is working, and we're on float currently. So now what I'm gonna do is work on my DC fuse block. Okay, so we have this all pretty much figured out in this area. And now all of my 12 volt wire, which is 16 gauge, these are all the ones for like my plug lights, my fan, the water pump. They all have to go into this fuse block. And then I put the correct fuses in for each. So this is the first one I'm doing. These two wires are what are feeding power to all my overhead main lights. Sorry. And so what you do is I took this screw out already on this terminal. This is my positive and these are my negative. So all I'm going to do is take one red and attach it here with the screw, and then a black and attach it up here with the screw. Okay, so like that. So basically you just pop the screw out and then put it in the little terminal that you could have seen me do earlier in the electrical story, and you attach it there. So I know, because I labeled these, that these are my main window lights. So then you have to calculate the total amps that this load has. It's really low. These are LED little puck lights. So I think it came out to just under 2. So the smallest one I have, which I think I might get other ones because I know they make a smaller than 5, but this is a 5 amp. So then all you'll do is pop it in there. So there it is. So each one's going to have a different, I think my fridge is the one that's going to have a 15 amp. And then this one, it even says on here that it's the slow blow fuse is 6 amp. So I would size up. This one I think has, the next size would be a 10. So that's what I would use for this one. So now I'm just going to keep going down and putting them all there. And then it comes with like this little cover that I'll be able to label. Like these are going to be my main lights. And then that way I'll be able to keep it all organized. Okay, so here it is. So I pushed as much as I could back into the wall, and these will like make sure lay flat. But you can see each one's just like a red one coming here, corresponding black one going up there, and then you put the correct amp for each line. So all the 5s are all my LED lights. This is my fan because I think it was a 7.5 load. And then this is my fridge. So the last thing I did is I took the cover, and it's kind of like your little breaker box, and then you basically just cover it up so it's nice and cute. And then up here is where our negative line is going to come off and go to our bus bar, and the bottom is where our positive goes to the bus bar, and then we will have power. But I never installed my switches, so I need to do that. Otherwise we have light. Look at that. Just light everywhere you look. So now we always have light though until I put our switches in, which I'm trying to figure out, because the back, it's like I need to be able to fit 4 wires, and I don't know if you can put 2 in each one or not. So I'm gonna research that. Maybe hit up the Blanche manager, and then hopefully be able to power on and off our switches by a switch and not by killing our entire power system. But it's looking good. It's almost all done. Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next week to see how I finally close up the walls. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.